My ex-wife's sister showed up after her engagement fell apart. She said, "I have nowhere left to go." I opened the door, expecting a package. Instead, I found my ex-wife's younger sister standing on my porch in the pouring rain, clutching a single suitcase with both hands. Her mascara had long since washed away, but the tears hadn't stopped. She looked at me like someone hanging from the edge of a cliff. "My engagement is over," she whispered, barely able to meet my eyes. "My parents said I embarrassed the family. My sister won't answer my calls." She swallowed hard before saying the words that changed everything. "I have nowhere left to go." For a few seconds, I forgot how to breathe. The last time I had seen Lily was at my divorce hearing 3 years earlier. She had stood behind her older sister, Emily, refusing to look at me. I remembered thinking she hated me as much as everyone else did. Now she stood in front of me, soaked to the bone, looking more broken than I had ever seen another human being. "I know this is crazy," she said, forcing a weak smile. "If you tell me to leave, I'll understand." I looked past her into the empty street. There was nowhere else to go. "You'd better come inside before you get sick." She let out a shaky breath, almost collapsing with relief. "Thank you." The house felt strangely alive again. For 3 years it had been painfully quiet. After Emily left, she took almost everything that had made the place feel like a home. Not the furniture. I kept most of that. But the laughter, the plans, the little arguments over what movie to watch. Silence had moved in instead. Lily stood awkwardly in my living room, while water dripped from her coat onto the hardwood floor. "I'll clean that," she said immediately. "It's just water. I still should." She sounded like someone afraid of doing even one thing wrong. I handed her a towel. "The guest room is upstairs. Take a hot shower. I'll find you some clean clothes." She looked embarrassed. "You still have men's clothes that might fit me?" "My old college hoodies. They're huge." For the first time since arriving, she laughed. It lasted maybe 2 seconds. But it reminded me that somewhere beneath the heartbreak, the old Lily still existed. An hour later she came downstairs, wearing an oversized gray hoodie that nearly reached her knees. Her wet blonde hair was tied into a messy ponytail. She looked younger than 28, more vulnerable. I placed a bowl of chicken soup on the table. "Soup is the best I can do. It smells amazing." She hadn't even taken 2 bites before tears rolled down her face again. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "For what?" "I haven't eaten since yesterday." I quietly slid the breadbasket toward her. She cried while eating. I pretended not to notice. Sometimes kindness is pretending someone still has their dignity. Later that night we sat on opposite ends of the couch. The rain tapped against the windows. "So," I finally asked, "what happened?" She stared at the untouched cup of tea in her hands. "His name was Daniel." I nodded. "I know. You heard we were engaged?" Emily mentioned it once before. "Before the divorce." Lily smiled sadly. "We were together 4 years. What changed?" "I found out he wasn't just cheating." She paused. "He had another fiancée." "What?" "He proposed to both of us." I blinked. Different cities, different families, different wedding dates. I honestly thought she was joking. "I'm serious. How did you find out?" "The other woman found me." She pulled out her phone. There we both were. Same engagement ring. Same proposal speech. Same promises. Different victims. He'd been living 2 lives. I shook my head in disbelief. "I'm so sorry." The worst part wasn't losing him. It was realizing I never actually knew him. That sentence stayed with me long after she went to bed, because I knew exactly how that felt. The next morning she insisted on making breakfast. "You don't have to. I need to feel useful." She cooked pancakes while humming softly. The house no longer felt empty. It felt normal, comfortable, dangerously comfortable. I reminded myself who she was. My ex-wife's sister. Nothing more, nothing less. 3 days passed, then a week. Lily started applying for jobs nearby. She offered to pay rent. I refuse. She started cleaning the house instead. One afternoon I came home from work to find fresh flowers on the kitchen table. I found them at the farmer's market. You didn't have to buy flowers. They were $5. They make the room happier. She wasn't wrong. The house really did seem brighter. One evening, my phone rang. Emily. I stared at the screen before answering. What? So it's true. What is? Lily's living with you. I sighed. She had nowhere else. That's not your problem. It became my problem when she knocked on my door. Emily's voice hardened. You always wanted people to think you were the hero. I laughed quietly. No, I just didn't want your sister sleeping in her car. Silence. Then, she's manipulating you. Emily. I know her. I looked upstairs. Lily was folding laundry. She had no idea her sister had finally called. No, I replied calmly. I think you stopped knowing her a long time ago. Lily found me sitting on the porch afterward. Was that my sister? Yeah. What did she say? I hesitated. The truth. She smiled sadly. She thinks this is my fault. Is it? She shook her head. I ended the engagement. Because he lied. My parents think I should have forgiven him. I stared at her. They actually said that? They said marriage is about sacrifice. I couldn't hide my disbelief. He had another fiancée. I know. She laughed bitterly. My family thinks appearances matter more than honesty. Weeks became months. She found a job at the local library. Rented a small storage unit. Started smiling again. Sometimes we'd cook together. Sometimes we'd watch old movies. Sometimes we'd simply sit outside watching sunsets without saying a word. Peace has its own language. Then one Saturday morning, someone knocked loudly on my front door. Emily. She looked furious. You've replaced me with my sister. Lily froze in the hallway. No, I answered. You replaced yourself. Emily stepped inside without permission. You've turned my own family against me. Lily finally spoke. No, Emily. You did that. The room became painfully quiet. I begged you to answer my calls, Lily continued. You blocked my number. I begged Mom and Dad to listen. They told me to apologize to a man who betrayed me. Emily crossed her arms. You always were dramatic. I watched something inside Lily finally break. No, I was loyal. I loved him. And when my whole world collapsed, she glanced toward me. The only person who opened a door was the man you said ruined your life. Emily looked at me. Then, around the house. Family photos were gone. Our marriage had disappeared years ago. Only the present remained. Without another word, she walked out. The front door closed. Neither of us moved. I think I just lost my sister. I looked at her with quiet sadness. No. I think she lost you.